How are you?
Fine, ma'am.
So you studied the features?
Yes, ma'am, little bit.
Okay. So is that part clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And otherwise, how is your studies going on? Your exams are also coming, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So how is your studies going on?
Now only little bit starting from every subjects.
Okay, fine. So you start studying this, okay? Because before exam, there are cases and all also, right? It will be difficult to remember them. Okay, so we have like one topic left from this Motor Vehicles Act, and also few things are remaining from that Unit 5. All right, so apart from that, we'll also start with some concepts from Unit 4. Okay, so what is Unit 4? Have you like seen the syllabus? Unit
Yes,
4, what is,
ma'am.
or like in your college, have they started with it?
Ma'am, in our college they finished everything.
Oh, Unit 4 is finished also, huh?
Yes, ma'am. Unit 5 also finished.
Oh, then complete syllabus finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what are they doing now? No classes, study leave, or what is it?
They're not taking class, ma'am, but not study leave, ma'am. But some subjects are going on, ma'am. Other
Okay.
subjects.
Okay, fine, fine. So do you get notes and all from college, or it's just like the lecture thing?
Lecture only, ma'am. They will say go to library and search books.
Okay. So for this, right, torts against property, what all things did they discuss? Trespass, what else they discussed?
The trespass to land they have discussed.
And anything
And
else?
defamation.
Yeah, defamation and also we have here only. Against property only, trespass only they discussed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So with regard to Unit 4, we will start. Okay, so what is given in Unit 4 from your college lectures? What do you remember? Trespass is there, defamation is there. What else do you have?
Trespass against person they have taken, ma'am.
Yeah, trespass against person also they have taken. Yes, right. So if you look at the, like the syllabus, right, for Unit 4, it is basically having like two different things. All right. So if we see here, right, I will just minimize this thing. So there are basically like two different things. Okay. One is torts against property and other one is torts against person. So what is tort? We know, right? It's like a civil wrong, right? When some slight harm is being caused where the entire society will not be affected, but maybe you, your family members or your relatives will be affected, right? It's like a lesser harm that is being caused, which is like a wrong thing, right? We should not be doing it. So when we say this tort, right, there are basically two different types of torts that are given in your Unit 4. One is which is against property. So against property, if you study other law subjects like IPC and all, right, when we say property, it may include a lot of things. All right, it may include your mobile phone, it may include your house, land, it may include some other rights, it may include a lot of things. All right, but with regard to torts, it is basically, like it's not like you cannot like trespass my phone, right? What you can do, maybe you can enter my property without my permission, but you cannot trespass my phone, really, right? If someone takes my phone without my knowledge, without my permission, it would be a crime, right? It will be theft. There are so many other different crimes. So when we say property, it usually includes like a plot of land or might be a house, like as discussed in your college also, that torts against property, what it may be, that someone is entering your premises without your permission or without your invitation, right? That may be included. And tort may be against person also. Against person, when we say, right, if a tort is committed against you, it may affect you in 4 different ways. All right, so you need to remember that tort against property, it's usually the trespass only which we have. But when we say tort against person, it may affect you in 4 different ways. All right, what are these 4 different ways? It may affect your body. All right, it may affect your reputation. whatever reputation you have in amongst your might be friends, relatives, and other known people, right? It may affect that. It may affect your freedom, right? You are free to do whatever you want. You are free to go wherever you want, right? But that freedom may be taken away, or it might affect some other rights that you have. Okay, it might not be affecting your body, reputation, or freedom as such, but some other rights. It might be some domestic rights, some contractual rights and stuff that are being affected. All right, so when we say Unit 4, it is basically covering these things: tort against property or torts against person. Both the two things are included. When we say tort against person, it will affect the person's body, reputation, freedom, or some other rights. Okay, it may be some domestic rights, contractual rights, or some other legal rights that are being given to the person. Okay, this part is clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So domestic rights, do you remember what all things are included there from your class maybe? What is domestic right? Any point you remember? Like you remember like defamation, you remember, right? For reputation, it's defamation. For domestic rights, what all we have? So see, these are the things which we have, right? First one I told you, tort against proper person. And second one is tort against property. For property, we don't have any such like subdivision and stuff. But for tort against person, we have 4 things: body, reputation, freedom, domestic, or some other rights which are there. Right? So when we say tort again affecting body, right, what is it? Your body might be affected. How it may be affected? There are basically 4 things: assault, battery, mayhem, and false imprisonment. All right, today we are going to discuss these 3 things. Why only these 3 things? Because these 3 things are related to one another, but false imprisonment is like slightly different. Okay, so today we are going to discuss these 3 things which are nothing but tort affecting body. Okay, and these are torts against person. Specifically, it will affect body of the person. So like whatever question you get, right, from Unit 4, like last year, I remember in 2019, there was a question like write a short note on assault. Right, so when you get such kind of a question, obviously you need to explain on that question, right? So what you can do is you can write a bit of intro on what trespass is, right? It may be affecting the person or affecting the property of the person also, right? And then whatever they are mentioning, if it's defamation, you can write something with regard to reputation. If it is freedom, you can write something with regard to freedom. Like that also you can explain on it. All right, so this is like a basic intro which you can give on anything, right? It does not matter what the question is. From Unit 4, whatever is the question, you can write this intro. After that, you can explain with regard to what is it affecting, right? If they are asking, write the short note on defamation, you can write with regard to tort affecting reputation, and similarly. Okay, so what is this intro we have? Trespass to person is a tort which is frequently committed in everyday life. It is basically unreasonable interference. All right, unreasonable interference with body of a person which can be committed either by causing actual harm or by just causing an apprehension of force. That means tort to person is like a very common thing that we keep seeing in our everyday life, right? These kind of things being committed. What is it? It is basically unreasonable interference. What is unreasonable? That means you are not justified in inflicting that harm on me, right? You do not have a valid justification like we have in case of general defenses we saw, right? Self-defense and stuff we had. Like that, you don't have any justification here, okay? Unreasonable interference with body of a person, which can be committed either by causing actual harm or by just causing apprehension of force. That means when you cause this harm, maybe you have actually caused some harm, right? Actually, this person got injured or something, or it might be just an apprehension. Okay, what is apprehension basically? Sometimes like we apprehend things, right? Like we may be like, okay, fine, maybe in September we will have our exams, right? What is it? You have not yet received the notification, but still you have an apprehension that might be in September my exams are going to start, so I need to study. So what is that? You have this thing, right? That there is a likelihood or there is a possibility that my exams will start, right? Similarly, we may feel like, okay, fine, might be there may be like a surprise test in class, right? What is it? You don't know whether teacher is going to conduct a surprise test or not, but we just have that apprehension, right? We feel like, okay, fine, this might happen, right? So that is apprehension. Same apprehension may apply here also. What they are saying, it may be that actual harm is caused to the person, right? Like maybe slapping a person, right? So slapping is what? Actual harm is there, right? Actual hurt is there, but it might be just an apprehension of the offense, right? If someone is like very angry, okay, like might be two people are fighting, okay, I'm fighting with one of my friends and I'm so angry that I'm like, I'll slap you someday. When the moment I do like this, what is it? There is an apprehension that I may slap the person also, right? So that also may be included. Okay, so both these two things will be considered as a tort, right? Actually slapping a person or just, like creating this thing that I'll slap you someday. This, like this gesture is also a tort, which we have affecting body. Why? Because it also creates a reasonable apprehension, right? The other person who think that, oh God, might be she is going to slap, right? So that also will be included here. Okay, both these things will be considered as tort affecting person, right? Against a person's body. Tort against person may affect body, reputation, freedom, domestic or other contractual rights, like we have seen here, right? It may be divided into different types based on what is it that it is affecting. So first of all, we have torts against body, right? Whereby body of a certain person is being affected. Okay, so what is it? Tort affecting body of a person may be committed by way of assault, battery, mayhem, or false imprisonment. What is assault first of all? These three things, right? Assault, battery, and mayhem, they are like, like three different stages of something. Okay, it's like very slight thing and then causing it and then aggravated form of it. All right, so what is assault, battery, and mayhem? Anything you remember from these 3 points? This, right? Affecting body, assault, battery, or mayhem. Do you remember something from your class?
Assault means like a threatening.
Your voice is breaking. Hello? Yeah. Am I audible? Your voice is breaking because. So assault, battery, and mayhem. Okay, first of all, assault. What is assault? Assault is an act of defending. Network issue. Okay, I am audible, right? Or my voice is also breaking for you? Okay. So what is assault? Assault is an act of defendant Who is defendant? There are two parties in a case, right? Plaintiff is the victim who goes to court, files a case, and defendant is the person who is accused of doing something wrong. Assault is an act of defendant which causes reasonable apprehension of the infliction of battery on the plaintiff. That means, like I said, right, if I just tell my friend that, okay, I'll just slap you. The moment I do like this, it creates an apprehension, right? It creates an apprehension of infliction of battery on the person. The other person will apprehend that maybe I'm going to cause harm to the person, right? So that is assault. That means just until I, like hit the person, actually, that is assault. Till that moment, it is assault. When the defendant, by his act, creates an apprehension in the mind of the plaintiff that he is going to commit battery against the plaintiff, the wrong of assault is completed. That means until I touch this person, or I cause the harm, or I commit this offense, like wrong of battery, it will be considered as assault. Okay, so the moment I say I'll slap you, until this moment, until I slap the person in reality, that will be assault, because it is creating an apprehension in mind of this other person that I may cause hurt to the person. All right. The wrong consists of an attempt to do the harm rather than the harm being caused thereby. That means until I slap the person, I'm not causing harm, right? But what happens is there is like an attempt, right? Because I'm just creating that posture, right? I'll just slap you. That means until that moment, it is just creating like an apprehension in mind of the other person that there may be infliction of hurt for the other one. All right. Pointing a loaded pistol at another is an assault, because the moment I point a loaded pistol, the other person is going to apprehend the risk, right? So that also will be assault. But what if the pistol is not loaded? Okay, not loaded. Pistol is not loaded, but still I'm pointing it to another person in such a distance that if it was loaded, it will kill the person. In that case also, it would be considered as assault until and unless the other person know that this pistol is not loaded, right? Because otherwise, if you do not know whether this pistol is loaded or not, and I'm pointing the pistol at you, obviously you are going to apprehend the risk, right? Because you do not know whether it's loaded or not. Like we have seen so many these cases where, like robbers would come and with might be like a toy pistol also, they would try to, like point it to person, and people would think that it's a real pistol and they would just hand over whatever they have, right? Or might be it's like an unloaded pistol, but still they would pretend as if like it's loaded, and people would also believe on that. Why? Because we never know whether it's loaded or not. If not, fine. If loaded, we may die the next moment itself, right? So it anyways is going to create apprehension in our mind. So if it is unloaded also, and the other person do not know whether it's loaded or not, in that case also we will say that there is assault. But if the plaintiff knows that the pistol is unloaded, there is no assault, because if it's unloaded, definitely it cannot kill you, right? It cannot cause you any harm. So in that case, it's not reasonable for you to apprehend any sort of risk. All right, so this is what assault is. Generally, assault precedes battery. So the moment I slap this person, it becomes battery, and until I slap this person, whatever I'm doing, that is assault, right? So assault is like the first step of battery, when I'm just telling the person that someday I'll slap you, right? So that is what that assault precedes battery. Assault will come, and after that battery will come. All right, throwing of water upon a person is an assault, right? Throwing of water upon a person is an assault. Or if you split coffee or some tea or water, whatever it is, that will be assault until the moment this water, coffee or tea, it falls on the other person. All right, it becomes battery. So the moment it touches this other person's face or body or whatever, it will be considered as battery. Just before that, whatever is the time, it will be considered as assault. All right. If a person is about to sit on a chair and the chair is pulled, this is something that we used to come very, like frequently do as a child, right? Someone is trying to sit, we will pull the chair or bench or whatever it is, and the person would fall, we all will laugh, right? Because at that point in time, we did not know that it's a tort, but now we know that even that is a tort, right? So the moment we pull this chair and this person is about to fall, it is assault. But the moment his body touches the ground, because he falls, that will become battery. All right. So assault is just the previous step of committing battery. Okay, where there is just apprehension, because when this person is about to fall, might be someone would come and hold him also, right? So until he falls, that would be considered as assault. The moment he falls, it would be considered as battery, right? So if I pull the chair, this person was about to fall and someone caught him, I will be held liable for this battery only, right? Because this person, like assault only, because battery was not committed there. So there is assault as long as he is in the process of falling on the ground. But as soon as his body touches the floor, it will become battery. All right. Is this part clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So it is, however, not essential that every battery should include assault. It's not, even if we are saying that assault is like the first step and then there will be battery, it's not necessary that in every single case it has to be in that order only, right? Sometimes there might not be assault directly, there might be battery also. How? Might be if someone is trying to hit another person from back, right? So obviously he is coming and trying to hit and stuff, but this person is not knowing, right, that someone is coming to hit me and stuff. He will come to know the moment he is being hit, right? So in that case, we can say that there was no assault directly. This person had caused harm to the other person, right? So in general, there is like assault and then battery, but in some cases like hitting someone from the back and stuff, assault might not be there directly, it may result in battery also. All right. So there was this case with regard to assault wherein the plaintiff was the chairman of a parish meeting and the defendant was also seated in the same table. So there was some meeting going on and people were seated in a table. During the proceedings, while they were discussing on the meeting and stuff, the defendant became angry and interrupted the meeting, right? He was so angry that he wanted to stop the meeting in between. During the proceedings, the defendant became angry and interrupted the meeting. The other members voted to expel him from the meeting, right? Because he was angry, he was trying to interrupt the meeting. Other people said that we should expel this person. We should, like ask him to move out from here. The defendant advanced upon the chairperson to hit him, but was stopped. The defendant was held liable for assault. That means because he was angry with the chairperson and he was asked to leave the room, right? He was so angry that he was about to hit the chairperson. But because there were other people around, everyone stopped him and he could not actually cause harm to the chairperson, right? So in this case, it was said that he is guilty or he is liable of the wrong of assault. Why? Because he tried to cause hurt, right? There was like apprehension that he would just cause harm to the chairperson, but he actually could not do it because he was stopped by other persons, right? So that is assault, like the moment just before you like actually cause the harm or hurt, right? There is another person. If a person is about to sit on a chair and the chair is pulled, there is an assault as long as he takes to fall on the ground. The moment he makes contact with the ground, it becomes battery. Like I said, if someone is trying to sit, you pull the chair, this person will, like about to fall. So this about to stage will be assault. The moment he falls, it will become battery, right? So these two cases also you can write if there is a question on assault. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So assault, we know, right, that it is just until the moment when you are just apprehending that might be this person may cause me hurt or loss or harm or stuff. But what is battery now? The wrong of battery consists in intentional application of force. So here there is no apprehension, but here there is application of force to another person without any lawful justification. That means here the person is not apprehending, but rather you are actually causing him hurt or loss. Right? So what are the essentials? There are basically two essentials that we need for the wrong of battery. All right, what are these essentials? First of all, there should be use of force. That means you are using force on the other person to affect his body, right? Secondly, the same should be. That means this use of force should be without any lawful justification. That means you should not have a justification like we say in case of general defenses, right? That if it is like self-defense or if it is like statutory authority and stuff, it is not included, right? So those defenses should not be available with you. Okay, so there are these two essentials with regard to battery. First one is use of force. So what is use of force? Even though the force used is very trivial and does not cause any harm, the wrong is still constituted. That means we are not concerned with how much of force you are using, but rather we are concerned with the fact that you have used force, right? You have inflicted some hurt or harm to the person. So even if it's like very small, trivial in nature, right? It is something which does not cause such hurt in reality, but still it would be considered. Right? Because might be you are, like, okay, fine, I'll slap you. And then you're slapping very, like gently. In that case also, it would be considered that, yes, you have slapped the person. Whether it's, like very gently or what, that does not matter. Right? So even though this force is very trivial, very small, it does not cause any harm. Even in that case, we would say that this offense of battery is being committed. Physical hurt need not be there. It does not need that, okay, fine, like this, it's paining, it was so hard and stuff. That is not needed, but just causing something is also like important, right? That you are, like you are basically using force. That is only important. Least touching of another in anger is a battery, right? You might be just, like pushing a person or something. Like least touching might be with a finger also, you are just pushing a person or something. That may also amount to battery if this touch is in anger, right? So that would be considered. The force may be used even without a bodily contact with the aggressor. It does not need that your body is touching this other person's body. Okay, without touching this person also, you may be guilty of committing this offense of battery. How? Without touching a person, how can you cause harm to the person? Might be the force may be used even without bodily contact, like using a stick, bullet, or throwing water, or spitting on a man's face, or making a person fall by pulling his chair are examples of force. Right? If you are not touching this person, but you simply pull the chair, that is also something. Spitting on a person's face, throwing water, or might be like using a stick, pointing a pistol, all that stuff also would be considered here. All right. Infliction of heat, light, electricity, gas, odor, etc. may also be considered as battery if it is resulting in physical injury or personal discomfort to the plaintiff. All right, those also will be considered as battery. So this is what is use of force. Even if it's very small, very trivial, does not matter, that also will be considered. All right, and when we say use of force, It's not necessary that there has to be like one person touching the other person. It might be without having any body contact also, that by pulling a chair, by, you know, like using a stick and stuff also, it might be done. So this is use of force. Mere passive obstruction, however, cannot be considered as use of force. So there was this case wherein a policeman unlawfully prevented the plaintiff from entering the club premises. It was held that policeman was entirely passive, like a door or wall put to prevent the person entering the room. So policeman was basically under some sort of mistake of fact, and on that mistaken belief, he stopped this plaintiff from entering a club. Right? In that case, it was said that no, this policeman is not trying to push this person or something. He's just standing like in front of the gate like a wall, and he's not allowing or, you know, like making space for this person to enter the club. So that would not amount to assault basically. All right. So this is first one, use of force, which how it can be used basically. You need to know that. Is it clear, use of force?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in order means what, ma'am? In
Which
light
one?
of light electricity gas.
Yeah.
That order means.
Okay, sorry. Not order. Has to be order. All right. Spelling mistake. Okay, so it might be by inflicting heat, light, electricity, gas, odor, etc., which are also creating some personal discomfort or some injury and stuff. Okay, so this is use of force, which is like the first essential that we have with regard to battery. Second one is without lawful justification. That means, yes, you are using force, right? There is use of force, but this use of force is without lawful justification. All right. So what is without lawful justification? It is essential that the use of force should be intentional and without any lawful justification. Right? That means you are intentionally using force, that too without having a valid justification. Harm voluntarily suffered is not battery. If you are yourself coming to me and saying that I want, might be like some piercing and stuff, I want to get a piercing done, there you are voluntarily coming forward. Like we have seen these defenses, right? Voluntary non-fit injuria. Voluntarily, if you are coming forward, might be to get a tattoo done or piercing and stuff, that will not be considered. So harm voluntarily suffered is no battery. The use of force may be justified in pulling a drowning man out of water. If someone do not know how to swim, this person is drowning and another one comes and pulls him with his hair just to save that person's life. In that case also, we will say that this is not battery. Even if there is no consent of the person, voluntarily that person is not doing also, but even in such a case, it would be considered that it is not battery. Forcibly feeding a hunger striking prisoner to save that person's life, right? That also will be considered as, like that also is not like unlawful. There is also like a justification in order to save the person's life only. There is force feeding of a hunger striking prisoner. Or performance of operation of an unconscious person by a competent surgeon to save the person's life. If someone is unconscious, the person needs to get some operations done. We see, right, that surgeon would take consent from the, like the attendant or relatives of the person and get the operation done. That also will not be considered as battery, because all these things are done to save like a person's life. Okay, so this is what without lawful justification is. But in these cases, we do have a valid justification of saving life of a person. All right, then we have these cases, which, see, these cases, right, you can try to remember them, because in question, right, that they might ask you with regard to one thing only, right? Write about assault, write about battery. So in that case, you need to have enough of things to write. All right, so you can remember like 2-3 cases for these things. So with regard to battery, we have this case where the forced feeding of a hunger striking prisoner to save his life was held a valid defense for battery. An injury that is caused unintentionally or by accident is not considered as battery. All right, so those cases are because justified. You are doing it in order to save a person's life only, so it will not be considered. So there is this lady from Manipur. Are you aware of her? Iram Sharmila. She was on hunger strike for like so many years, right? Have you seen her? She was like on hunger strike because she was against one legislation, like one law which is there applicable. Okay, Armed Forces Special Powers Act. You will be studying that legislation some year in your LLB. So basically she said that until and unless this legislation is abolished, I am not going to eat anything. Okay, I will die like with something inserted in her nose. She will just take some like liquids, not like solid food or anything. Okay, she will not eat anything with her mouth. So she was arrested many times and stuff. Okay, so those are examples of like hunger striking prisoner. That means I am striking, but it is like hunger strike. I will not eat anything unless and until my demand is fulfilled. All right, so in such cases, someone may forcefully feed the person to save that person's life. That will not be considered as like illegal or unjustified. All right, similarly, there is another case wherein it was held that fixing a live electric wire without due warning to keep passengers away and causing death of such trespasser was actionable. That means if you are fixing something and there is some risk, you usually might be like block the road or put in some signboard so that people do not come close to it, because there might be some risk involved in it. If you fail to do it, then in such a case, it might be said that this person is guilty of battery. Okay, similarly, we have this another case wherein a person was traveling in a train without having like a valid ticket. Okay, then he tried to purchase a ticket, he did not get it, and then in some other station, right, they asked that, okay, fine, show the ticket, and then he was not having any tickets to travel, and the person said that, okay, you just, like get down from the train because you are not having a valid ticket. The person was not doing it, so force was used to, like throw him out of the train. In that case also, it was said that it's justified because you should not be traveling without a valid ticket. If you are doing it, you are like a trespasser, and with regard to trespasser, we can use some reasonable force to throw him out of the premises, right? So in case you are traveling in a train without a valid ticket, you are also no less than like a trespasser. And accordingly, reasonable amount of force may be used in order to throw that person out also. So this is a case where it was said that it is justified if he was thrown out of the train. All right, so this is what we have with regard to battery. There are two essentials which we need to satisfy. First of all, use of force, and secondly, it should be like without a valid or lawful justification. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is assault? That you are just creating like an apprehension. There is no actual, like force used or harm caused to the person. But in case of battery, you are using force without a lawful justification, and you are, like you are committing this crime, whether there is lot of harm caused, no harm caused whatsoever it is, you are basically using force. So that itself will make you answerable under this law, right? Third one that we have is mayhem. What is mayhem? It is like an aggravated form of battery. That means more serious version of battery. right? If assault is here, battery is here, mayhem would be somewhere here. All right, these are like three different, like stages of it. What is mayhem? Voluntarily depriving another person of a body part to render less effective that person's defense of self. That means we have this self-defense, right? If someone is trying to hit me, I can use my hands, I can use my legs, I can use my mind to defend myself. All right. If this person is causing such a amount of force that I can't move my hands, that means what? I would have otherwise defended myself by using my hands, right? But because this person had hit me so hard that I cannot move my hands, and because of that I am not able to defend myself, in that case it would be considered as mayhem. So mayhem is like an aggravated form, more serious form of battery, wherein some body part of the person is made incapable of use, basically, right? Such a serious amount of force is being used. Mayhem deals with the disfigurement or loss of any body part due to physical injury caused by the tortfeasor. When we say loss, it does not mean like chopping off the hand or something like that. Might be it was injured so bad that for the moment I cannot move my hand, right? That also would be like like loss of a body part. For the moment I was not able to move my hand and defend myself, right? It might be some sort of disfigurement also. It basically is like a serious form of battery, all right, wherein some part of the body is is something that I cannot move or I cannot use to defend myself, like disabling of an arm, hand, finger, leg, foot, or eye are examples of mayhem. Okay, so there was this case wherein like a plaintiff had recovered damage from the defendant for the action of battery. That means for inflicting harm to the person without a lawful justification, he had already got compensation for the offense of battery. But slightly after some time, part of his skull by reason of the said battery came out of his head. All right, and in this case, it was said that because it is, like making something like unfit or like disfiguring or loss of like a body part, so this person and again got compensation with regard to mayhem. All right, so mayhem is like a serious or an aggravated form, wherein in this case it was said that yes, loss of skull also would be included here. All right, will also be included as mayhem. There was another case wherein it was held that a queryman had a cause of action against the defendant who had caused plaintiff's customers to discontinue buying the queried stone by threatening them with mayhem. That means one person was, like digging out some stones and valuable stuff from soil, and his customers, whoever were his customers, another person warned those customers that if you buy stones from this person, I will commit this wrong of mayhem. And based on that threat only, those customers stopped buying those stones from the person, right? So in this case also, he filed a case and accordingly it was held that yes, it is like mayhem basically, right? Because he is threatening those persons with regard to it. So is this part clear? Three different torts which we have: assault, battery, mayhem. Is it clear? So then we have this small thing with regard to the differences. All right. So the basic difference between assault, battery, and mayhem has been established above. By studying all these three different things, we have understood how they are different from one another. Right. So assault is an action that causes an apprehension in mind of the victim that an act of battery is about to take place. Until the moment I tell my friend that I'll slap you, until that moment, my friend will only apprehend that I may slap her and there may be this wrong of battery which may be committed, right? So in case of assault, it is until battery is committed, like pulling a chair until this person falls on ground, it will be assault, right? So battery, what is battery? Battery refers to the act of striking or striking someone with physical force and no lawful justification. You are hitting someone, you are using force against someone, that too without having a valid or lawful justification. All right, then third one, mayhem. What is mayhem? Mayhem refers to the act of crippling someone or rendering them defenseless. You are causing such a serious amount of force that this person, some part of his body is like disfigured or made ineffective in defending the person himself, right? It's like an aggravated form of battery. Assault generally refers to only intent to cause harm. I'm not yet causing harm. I just have this intention of slapping my friend. Whereas both battery as well as mayhem inflict physical injury upon the victim. In one case, it might be very small. In another case, it might be very serious, right? So battery and mayhem are based on the amount of force that I am using. But with regard to assault, it is just an intention of causing harm. I have not yet caused the harm, right? Assault takes before the crime of battery is committed, and mayhem is a severe form of battery. All these three torts are associated with one another. These three torts are associated with one another. First one is just the intention. Second one is might be very slight, unlawful force used. Third one is it might be very serious, leading to disfigurement or making some body part unable to defend the person, right? So then you can give like a conclusion that does the term assault, battery, and mayhem appear to be similar? In all the cases, it's like kind of similar only, right? Against the person, some force is being used. But they are quite often interchangeably used, but they are different in terms of their meaning. And so we should not be like, we should be understanding how they differ from one another, right? So these are the three different types of crime or like wrongs which may be committed, which may affect body of the person, right? One more we have with regard to false imprisonment, which is a little different. So we'll continue that in some other time. So is this part clear? These three things?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine then. So we'll continue with this one. All right. False imprisonment and the remaining things in the next class. All right. So we'll end this class here then. Bye-bye.